Recording?
Yep, we're good.
Yay. Okay. Hello and welcome to McDermott Coffee Talks, the show where we discuss different tools that the library has for you. I'm your host, Katie Lee Robinson. Um, we are basically going to talk to Matt and Matt about databases and which ones they think are the best for different topics. And at the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers. Um, so before we get started, I do want to mention a couple events that the library will be hosting over the next few weeks. Tomorrow, January 28th at 1 p.m., we'll be delivering a presentation about our YouTube channel. Um, on February 2nd at 3 p.m., we will be playing Matchmaker and helping you find a database you truly love at matching up with databases. And finally, on February 3rd at 10 p.m., we will be partnering with the Office of Graduate Education to talk to you about long-term research projects in a presentation called Strategies for Managing Long-Term Research. You can find all of these events and more on the Comet Calendar at calendar.utdallas.edu, and we hope to see you there. All right, so let's get started. Today we are talking to two of our research services librarians, Matt Makowka and Matt Young, about databases and how to use them. They have been with the library for 19 and 7 years respectively and are two of the smartest people I know and excellent resources for your research needs. So why don't y'all take a moment to introduce yourselves? Just tell us where you went to library school, your official title, and your subject specialty. So let's go alphabetically. We'll start with Matt Makowka.
Okay. Yes. Been with UT Dallas since late 2001. So, been a long time there, and I've seen a lot of changes on campus. And oh my gosh, where to start? As far as my education goes, I've been all up and down the I-35 corridor. So, I did my undergraduate studies in the humanities at Trinity University in San Antonio, and then did my library school at UT Austin. And around the turn of the century, it sounds so weird to say that, but and then UT Dallas has been my first and only professional position so far. And while I've been at UT Dallas, I really spread it out, but I did work on yet another master's under the ATech program. Now the whole thing is just called ATech, but it was specializing in media studies. So that's my educational background. And what else should I say about that? I just that's it's my education, and I've been in Dallas a very long time, for most of my life, so haven't left Texas yet as far as places that I've lived.
And what is your official title and your subject specialty?
Okay, so when you've been at UTD long enough, you get the designation of senior. So senior research services librarian. And then I actually juggle multiple subjects, my main ones being ECS, the School of Engineering and Computer Science, and all of those sub-disciplines, of which there are many. And then I also, because of my second degree, I'm the subject specialist for arts and technology, or ATech. And then also, just because it's my undergraduate background, and I enjoy it, and I've got familiarity with it, I help out with the philosophy department over in A&H, so I help with them.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Matt Young, your turn.
Yeah, so I'm also born and raised in Texas. I grew up in Houston. I was there until my first year of college. I did actually attend U of H for a year, undecided on my major. Kind of wanted to do music. I wasn't really sure. And then I came up to Denton, where I did an undergrad in photography. And I think there was probably like a year or two that passed after graduating that I decided to go back and switch gears with become a librarian. A friend of mine had kind of done the same thing. I was like, oh, it's the school part is not that long, and she seems to enjoy her job. I went back to Denton for my MLS. My first library gig was actually as a student there. I was in the digital projects unit. So if you're familiar with the portal to Texas history, I helped to scan newspapers and make them look pretty enough for the web, add a little bit of metadata to describe them, and upload. So helped also with a massive project of digitizing maps from UT Arlington. There were like 10,000 maps. So it's a lot of kind of inventory management, and we used these high resolution scanners that were really interesting with my photo background. It was a really interesting project for me. And so my first gig outside of that, professional librarian job, I'm skipping actually. So my first library assistant job came from UT Dallas. I joined with Access Services and was sort of a supervisory role there, supervising the student workers, the copy center, user statistics, and working at the circulation desk. And then after about 2 years doing that, I became a professional librarian. And so I am responsible for managing the Collier Center's library in Dallas, but I do work in my office is at the Richardson McDermott Library, and I'm the liaison to the School of Behavioral and Brain Sciences. So my subjects include psychology, child development, child learning and human development, neurosciences, cognitive sciences, speech and hearing. So speech language pathologists will go through this program, and audiologists will go through this program, and also photography. So just like with Matt Makowka, the dean saw that it was my undergrad and kind of a gift there. So that is a joy for me to be buying photography books on someone else's funds.
I love it. That's awesome. All right. So let's dive into some of these questions that I have for y'all. So we'll just go back and forth on these and answer them as you see fit. So in your subject specialty or specialties, what are some important features that databases should have? Let's do Matt Young first this time.
So yeah, a little bit distracted. My cat's howling. I'm sorry if you hear that. The common issue for librarians on Zoom chats and stuff. Not for Chris. Anyways, yeah, important features for databases. For the students and faculty that I help in the School of BBS, a lot of the time they're doing a more extensive version of a literature review called systematic review, or even a meta-analysis. And it can be extremely helpful if a database already has a filter or a facet. It's a way of basically limiting your search results to the methodology used. So APA's PsycInfo and PsycArticles database, as well as PubMed from the National Institute of Health. These databases have a function where you can limit your search result to a type of study. So if you need case studies to build up your review, or you can even limit to meta-analysis if you want to see an example of what that looks like. So I think that's been extremely helpful to our students and faculty. Also, APA's databases allow you to limit by psychometric test that was used. So if you are doing a project where you're designing research from coming up with the research question all the way to developing and executing the project, at some point you're going to possibly be considering what tests would I use for this project, and that can be really helpful too. You can search your topic and see sort of a counter with this filter. This is how many times that these articles in my search result for my topic, this is how many times they use this test and this test. So that's another really helpful facet.
Cool. Yeah, that's really impressive. Cataloging that they've done
Right.
on those databases. All right, Matt Makowka, same question, what are important features that databases for your subject specialty should have?
Well, I'm kind of lucky in this regard because I was thinking about this for engineering, kind of the main database I would steer students and faculty to, and that most of them use, because we do pretty much every sort of engineering except we don't do like aerospace engineering or civil, but we do pretty much everything else: computer, biomedical, material science, computer science, computer engineering, that sort of thing. So IEEE captures most of those, and no better way to say it than it's kind of an idiot-proof database. It does a lot of the searching for you. It's kind of one of the databases that's kind of closest to Google, in that it will anticipate other keywords for you. So usually with most of our databases, they're very literal, and we'll look for your term as typed in and without different variants of it. But with IEEE, it will go ahead. I just before doing this session looked up sort of like the one of the latest trends is internet chat bots, and being able to speak with the dead, because they take a bunch of old scripts of people's chats and can kind of recreate what the person would say if they were still around. So pretty kind of weird and disturbing stuff. But I put in chat bots, and it was looking up chats, chatter, chatting, that sort of thing in there. And so if you know what we call your search math or search special search characters, there's a way you can enter your search to do that. Well, it's, one thing as librarians we know about, most researchers don't. But IEEE just kind of does that for you. And kind of on the same lines of what Matt was talking about, I think just the big strength of our databases and what makes them contrast from something like Google are just your filters in general. It's an aspect of all databases, having those facets or filters on the side where you can limit by date, suggested keywords, and then you can kind of follow the rabbit trail. Follow a topic from something very general to then more specific, and so on, that sort of thing. That's just, I think, just an invaluable tool, and Google just doesn't do that for you. Even Google Scholar, even though it's got better material in it, just doesn't have those filters, and those can really save you a ton of time when you're doing your searching.
Yeah, I think, Matt, what you described there briefly, predicting what somebody would have said. I just rewatched one of my favorite episodes of Black Mirror, season 2, Be Right Back. And it's about that very thing, but stretched to its extremes.
Creepy.
Yeah, but
cool.
yeah, to your point, this is something we run into so often with our the people that we're helping with databases. We're more and more we're trained to use natural language when we're asking our research questions through Google or wherever. Just speak like you would speak with a person, full sentences, and even after I go through my whole usual spiel about keyword structure, we still have people that will ask in full form questions, and that's I think an interesting dynamic that our search behavior is very much being dictated by by the Silicon Valley folks, but databases are they're classic, and like Matt says, a lot of advantages to searching into a database instead, like including the filters and the people that are maintaining the content inside.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, y'all have kind of talked about your favorite databases for your subject specialties, PubMed and all of those, and then IEEE. So let me ask, how do you recommend researchers go about becoming proficient in databases um, for their research?
Who would you like to start?
Oh gosh, Matt Makowka. I was just gonna say Matt, but that would not help.
I know we all just want to jump in and get started, and it's kind of like when you get a new appliance and you want to start using it immediately, and you just ignore and set aside the instructions. But with databases, it's sure some of them are that easy where you can just jump in, throw in some keywords and start searching. But really, it's just a matter of sitting and playing with them and getting familiar. And a lot of them really are, just kind of have the same structure. If I were to tell a new researcher, if they were wondering where to start, I would say maybe the best place would be our default Discover search. That's on the library's homepage. That's the first search that you see when you come to it. And when you use that, then the patterns you see there are repeated in the databases. So if you just sit there, search it, and then see how it returns results and the way it structures those with the different limiters and facets on the side where you can limit by date. Most importantly, or I think most useful, are by resource type. So if you're just wanting to look for articles or books alone or ebooks alone, I think that's a good place to start. And the nice thing with Discover is, and this kind of goes back to your first question, Katie, about like something I look for in a database is just ease of access of full text. So not all of our databases have a lot of full text throughout. And so when they make that easy, then that just makes it easier on everyone. And that's what I like about Discover is barring some technical glitch that's going on with something just kind of, misrouting or routing to the wrong thing or a dead end. If it says that we have it and it's electronic, then in Discover, then we should have the full text. So that's also why I like to point people to it. But Discover is just kind of in a nutshell, sort of our all-in-one search of virtually all of the library's different subscriptions and collections. So our databases are mainly for journal articles and subscriptions. It combines that with our sort of in-house inventory, which would be the library catalog, which covers our physical books and items and ebooks. So it kind of ties all of those in together. There are some exceptions, some things that aren't included in Discover, but if I were to point to just one place to go and search and look, and it covers all subjects, you are bound to find something there, regardless of subject, then Discover is where I would point people.
Awesome. And Matt Young, what do you recommend researchers?
I've got sort of a different take on the question. Maybe predictably, I have a broad answer. For me, it's just kind of everybody is different how they learn things, and especially with software. For me, I learn best by just diving in, poking around, pressing buttons, and just spending time with it, learning what does what. Like, for example, I just recently switched from an old Android, to an iPhone, and I spent like two nights just digging around in the settings and everything, just making sure I knew all of the features. So with the database, it's no different. I'll just dive in and just kind of see what each thing does. So that's a really good way to learn it. But also, databases typically have a help document up in the top right corner. So you can also click there, and there's going to be a section for searching and advanced searching where you can learn like the sort of hidden tricks of structuring your search and some of the filters that you find in databases. So I recommend that as well. But also, what the librarians in this room spend a lot of our time doing is making finding aids, creating ways of helping you learn these databases in many different formats to reach your different learning styles. So yeah, you can dive into a database and poke around like I do, or you can use Discover like Matt suggested, but we also have one-on-one appointments with librarians. So if you like to sort of learn by doing with some guidance, we do that. We also have research guides, particularly one with search tips and guides, and as well as instructional videos on YouTube, FAQs. We have lots of different formats to learn how to use the resources. So it's really just kind of, we're trying to meet the different learning styles, and I think that there's something for everybody.
Absolutely. We are trained to train. That is a big part of our job, is teaching people how to learn. And I think both of y'all have presented really interesting perspectives where you come at it from a different angle based on your learning style. And I think that's really important for our students to have that variety.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, Matt, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to add that sometimes when I'm on the chat helping a student, I'll ask them if they prefer, for example, the curbside pickup of library materials right now. I'll ask them, do you prefer illustrated written steps or a video? Because we actually have both formats. So it's interesting. It just seems like 50-50. Sometimes people want the video and sometimes in
that
writing.
Would be an interesting research paper.
Yeah.
I think. All right. Our last question before we move on to the next segment. And it is, what is your favorite database that has nothing to do with your subject specialty, and why? Let's start with Matt Young.
That one's kind of tricky because I feel like I have 2 or 3 that are very closely. Maybe Cat might be done. We'll see.
Bye, kitty.
Bye. Bye now. ArtStore comes to mind just because ArtStore is a collection of collections, high resolution, all types of art, including photography. So it's got some personal appeal for me, and I love the feature that you can add. You can create collections. If you create a profile, you can create individual collections and share those. So I think that's really good for learning in groups, or perhaps an instructor wants to build a collections for a particular lecture and share that. So ArtStore came to mind first, but I also like Credo and the Naxos databases quite a bit, so I can elaborate if you want on those.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what Naxos offers.
Yeah, so Naxos has, we have 2 databases. One is a spoken word library, and the other is, what did they call it? Video, or I forget what Naxos performing. Anyway,
Video,
it's, the spoken word is actually has music, like classical and jazz, and it's got other styles of music in there. And kind of like ArtStore, you can build your own playlists and share those. But it also has spoken word too, so you do have poetry and audiobooks, I believe, are in there. And then the Naxos video has performances, so you can also watch like theatrical performances, and I really like that one because you can set the timer of the video how you want to share it. So maybe you've got the full production of Othello and you just want a particular act, you can adjust the timing and just share that. So yeah, I'm really interested in the databases that we have that aren't what you would typically think of with the library. Most folks think it's all articles, but a database can be articles, ebooks, images, stats, everything.
Yeah, collection of stuff is just a database. Yeah. I know that Naxos or something like it, when I was in my undergrad degree in studying, had a Shakespeare class, and it was invaluable
Yeah.
to kind of help me grasp what Shakespeare was thinking and looking for. And
Yeah. And choose your
so, like,
performance too. It's not just the one.
yes,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
choose your
I
favorite.
could really pick, do I want Kenneth Branagh as Hamlet or do I want David Tennant as Hamlet? Because it's a very different performance.
Yeah.
All right, Matt Makowka, same question. What is your favorite database that really has nothing to do with your subject specialty?
I can think of a third one popped. I can think of two, but a third one popped up while Matt was talking. That is sort of related to the subjects, but the first two are sort of just fun things. So there's Canopy. That's
Mhm.
Canopy with a K, which is a video streaming service that we have. And it's got mainly documentaries and sort of nonfiction movie materials in it. So it's sort of like an educational Netflix is probably the easiest way to think about that. But it also has feature films as well. And I believe our Canopy, we don't get all of the content that they offer, but it has the I still think it's this way. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. It's got the Criterion collection and then the what's the other one? Kino Lorber. So there are a lot of good movies there. And it's streaming device friendly. So I've got a Roku, or we've got a couple of Rokus at home. So I just have the Canopy installed there and can get movies through there. And so that's very nice.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that. I think
Mhm.
I've looked on I have a PlayStation. I don't have a Roku, so maybe it's not on the PlayStation. I'm not sure. I've looked in the
Sounds
PlayStation
like
Store.
more
Yeah, I'm not
research for
sure
y'all
how
to
that
do.
works. If you can look up apps, install other apps on there, but you might be able to.
Yeah, they have a PlayStation Store where all the games and apps go, and I don't think it's in there, but I could be wrong. We'll
Okay.
look again.
Yeah,
Good,
and
good to
then
know
the
it's on the
other
Roku
one,
though.
which our public library users will be familiar with, is of course the ever popular Overdrive. With popular ebooks. So if anyone ever comes to me with a question about just leisure reading material, they're not looking for anything academic or serious to read. We, as an academic library, unless it's something kind of classic literature, we don't collect a whole lot of that. But because a lot of that's kind of flash in the pan, come and go, stuff that you don't want to clutter your shelves with. We try to collect things that are worth keeping for a long time. So stuff like your Danielle Steele's and kind of just your popular New York Times fiction type stuff, we get on the Overdrive platform. And what I love about it is that it's very mobile device and tablet friendly. So and what I like about ours is that though I try to tell everyone about it as often as I can when it's appropriate, when it comes up with interactions, Overdrive at our institution is just not used that heavily. So usually when you find a title on it, it's available and to check out. And unlike public libraries, a lot of your public libraries will carry Overdrive as well. And with them, even though it's an ebook, it's not like they've got unlimited copies. And so usually when you go to them, you have to get on a waiting list to check out titles, and you don't encounter that as much with ours. And I also really like it because it's got audiobooks on it as well, and those are wonderful. And I know we're all working from home now, so this doesn't apply so much. But if you've got a long commute to your job, you can download, install the Overdrive app. Preferably use the one called Libby, Libbby. That's the more
So
user-friendly
user-friendly.
one.
Yeah.
And they allow you to download for offline use. And then, you can have an audiobook that you listen on your commute to and from work or doing errands and what have you. And then kind of the third one that comes up that is wonderful, and I'd like to see more people using it, is the LinkedIn Learning platform. So yes, UT Dallas has that, and everyone UTD affiliated can use it as long as you're a current staff, student, or faculty. You don't have to be just a student to use it. You can access the LinkedIn Learning platform and just learn all kinds of useful things there. So they've got, if you're learning a new programming language or application for your job, or you want to learn graphic design or sound design or what have you, you can learn it through there. But they've also got a lot of just good kind of practical skills classes on there too. Like I started a critical thinking one, or there's ones on improving your public speaking or that sort of thing. So so that one's a wonderful tool. It's kind of expensive for us to subscribe to, so we like to see as many people use that as possible. But setting that aside, it is a wonderful service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You guys are clearly excellent resources for our students, faculty, and staff. And now that you've sort of shown off your database prowess, we're going to play a little game called Database Roulette Quick Draw. Thanks to Chris for the name of that. Here are the rules. I'm going to pull a random topic out of this coffee mug, which I have been attempting to drink out of all morning.
You pulled the mug out of thin air. This
Ah,
coffee mug.
this coffee mug, magic. And you have to give me the first database that comes to mind for that topic. And it's not a competition, except in the sense that everything is a competition and I always want to win. But I'm not playing.
Matt had 3 databases. I only had 2.
Okay. Well, so I
So
won't
you're
be
playing
keeping
from behind,
score.
Matt Young.
Yeah. I'm just joking.
I
about
won't be
Oh, I'm
keeping.
keeping score.
I love this. I won't be keeping score, but I'm really excited to see what y'all come up with. We'll see how well you know our databases. So, number
Quick
one,
draw, roulette, lightning round.
ready, go. Deaf culture.
I'd probably go with psych info, actually.
Okay, good. Makowka?
Yeah, I know this is kind of cheating, but along the same lines, the BBS, or Behavioral and Brain Sciences Power Search, which has basically lumps the APA databases all together.
Awesome. Good answers. Mao's Great Leap Forward.
All right, that's Chinese history.
Uh-huh.
So maybe the Humanities Index, one of the humanities databases.
Okay. If you get super stumped, just tell me who you would refer this to for expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
History is actually Dean Safely.
I think so, yeah.
Yes. The library's dean is the liaison, Ellen Safely, for history.
Yeah. Makowka, what do you think?
History Power Search.
I guess to be different, and I know this one's multidisciplinary, but probably JSTOR. JSTOR is really good for things like this that are straddle like history and political science and social science, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good kind of alternative.
Awesome. Okay. Creating a valid will in Texas.
Matt, you just take it and run with it.
I don't know if we still have it, but I think there's an EBSCO database for forms.
Oh yeah, the legal forms one. I don't know if we still have that.
Yeah, so if not that, then you said for the state of Texas,
Mhm.
then in that case, since it's government related, I would go to probably the state of Texas website, and then funnel down through there. So because yeah, .gov, if it's a form for an agency, then you can just get it in most cases that way.
That's what I would do as well, but I'm thinking, does it have to be a library database?
It doesn't have to be,
Okay.
but there is a correct answer to this one.
All right, please help us.
I was going to say Hein
Lifeline.
Online. Hein Online would be
Oh,
a
they
good.
have okay.
Yeah, they have everything.
Yeah,
really
Hein
good
Online
stuff.
is kind of new to us. We started subscribing like 2 months ago or so.
Yeah, something
And
like
it
that.
seems like it's the one-stop shop for anything that you need with federal or state level government docs.
I hate legal questions.
Constitutions and
Final.
statutes, etc. But I didn't know it went down to that level. That's good to know. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I usually go to my lawyer friend, but this was his recommendation. This was his question. Ask him how to create a valid will in Texas. So, yeah. Good answers. Good thinking outside the box. I'm really loving this. Okay. The Curse of King Tutankhamun.
Same answer as the Mal
like
question.
archaeology.
Ooh,
I'm trying to think of what subject area to put that in.
I would have done the history abstracts.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I basically in my normal course of work, I would be like just look like with the Mal question. All right, this is history. I'm going to go to the databases tab and click on the subject of history, and pick from there based off of the dates of coverage that are in our descriptions.
Awesome. Love it. Roman plumbing.
Engineer.
All right, so maybe
that'd be kind of a history of technology thing.
Yeah.
Is it company information? Is that the context? Plumbing companies?
They're definitely not in business anymore.
I don't know that a current plumbing company would be successful in their if they had the same philosophy as the Romans did when it came to plumbing.
If they were still in business from the Roman times, they would be a very successful plumbing business.
All right. The financial history of Disney. Ooh, Chris has an answer for this one because
what did
but I'm not on that.
Like Mergent or something, like one of the Mergent, Factiva, one of these company profile databases that you find under business industry. So you can find Disney, and then you can find the financial history and balance sheets and all that kind of thing there. So that's probably what I would do.
I think Disney's a publicly traded company, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is now.
And I would add to that, if you wanted kind of company history, the one that has good kind of narratives is Business Insights Global, is what it's called now, or BIG. Has kind of these business encyclopedias built into it. So if you look up a company in there, then you can get its just kind of a nice, almost encyclopedia entry. So it's like a few pages type history of the company. And I think I think BIG has some financials too, but that again, that's more company history.
Yeah. Cool. 18th century textiles. I'm not trying to stump.
That can be under art databases. So yeah, the art and architecture power search might be a good start.
I would include Art Store in that because I'm sure that there's some high.
There would be images. Yeah, Grove Art, Art Store, and Grove Art would be two databases if you have trouble finding images of the textiles in the power search.
What comes to mind to me are some of the kind of primary source databases. So maybe Hati Trust. That maybe the what is it? Early English Books Online might be a good one too. Would have probably materials from that era, if there were books written.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Last one, and then I have a bunch more, so we're definitely playing this game another time. But this is the last one we have time for today. The life cycle of the coffee bean.
The life cycle of. So is that like organic chemistry? Is that stupid?
No, I don't think that's stupid at all. It's actually exactly where I would go. I'd go to
Okay.
SciFinder, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just trying to think subject-wise. I think it's organic chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So SciFinder is a good first shot there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm almost thinking like I'm thinking from like a biological or botany angle. So if we still have it, maybe just Access Science. That's
still have that.
that's a
great source.
Basically a science encyclopedia. So if you wanted something with like illustrations that is basic for a dummy like me as far as the sciences go, it'd probably be the place I would start.
Yeah.
And then for like the hardcore, peer-reviewed, refereed articles type thing, then then maybe SciFinder, that sort of thing.
Yeah. You could always just send them my way.
Yeah.
I know way too much about coffee.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to briefly open it up if anybody in the audience has any questions.
Well, this is Deborah. First of all, thanks for doing this. It's very interesting. I appreciate it. When you're doing a search, I started doing searching way back when the internet was new using Westlaw. And we all had to do those Boolean searches, and so I've never really gotten used to using natural language search. Do you guys think that Boolean searches are still more efficient than natural language searches, or do you think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and even
Okay.
even with with search engines like Google, the advanced searches still use Boolean. It just looks different. With Google, it's a plus sign instead of and. It's a plus sign instead of not. It's a subtraction sign. So they're still very much using that technology. It's a lot more efficient because it gives you a way to interface with the search engine or database in a language it understands. So if I want to narrow down what I'm looking for, now I can use a combination of, my main subject term plus something a little bit more specific for a keyword and put and in between to say, okay, narrow it down to, it has to have both of these words. And it's sort of doing that with natural language processing. But I still would stick with, it's still kind of all using Boolean technology that are.
I would say the same. I think Boolean is much more precise, and all of the searches that I've looked at that use natural language really have just enabled the search engine to ignore the words that are not effective.
Right.
So it's really not doing natural language. It just looks like it is.
And so the search interface that you're using, that's using natural, the ones that use natural language processing, are probably your Googles of the world and Bing and everything. So they are actually favoring some websites over others based off of hits and being paid. There's a lot of things, a lot of factors going into what you see first in your results. Whereas with just strictly doing a Boolean search in a database, you're being very specific about the word you're looking for, and you're pulling from a better, let's say you're fishing in a more stocked pool. Like if you're like you're at a pond and you want catfish. This pond has been stocked with catfish.
I know we can nail it.
I love it. I usually tell my students when I'm teaching on searching, the human brain is a lot more effective than an artificial brain. So really, I mean, using Boolean and creating that search string yourself is going to be a lot more effective because you are directing what the database is searching for instead of the database trying to kind of read your mind through natural language. So I mean, I think Boolean is a tool that will not go out of style anytime soon.
I also think that cognitively it forces you to really figure out what's important about your search in a way that natural language shouldn't be lazy. I think it's pedagogically more effective to use.
That's a really good point that I totally overlooked. And it's like when I'm doing a lecture on searching library resources, I emphasize like the development of a good research question, and that and then looking at that question to determine what specific keywords most perfectly address what it is you're looking for. So like Chris said there, it really kind of forces you to choose the very best quality of search terms and think of related terms that might be used as well.
For sure.
Yeah. I think the explorative nature of research is really undervalued because everyone's looking to get to things faster. But it's true to say that the journey is part of the learning process. So I think you pick up as much from the searches that don't work as the ones that do.
Yeah, I definitely like
That's
to.
True.
When I'm working on a paper or an article, I really like to do a mind map. Or I mean, I have notepads. I always have a notebook and a pen with me, and I have just notepads just full of like lists of keywords that I think might work, and a lot of them are crossed out. And
Yep.
I mean, I think that entire cognitive process is really meaningful to the research process. So.
Okay.
I would add to that you know, you don't have to know what all the different terms are either. Just go into the advanced search. And the same with Google too. If you don't know what all your options are, go to the advanced search, especially with these subject specific databases, like what Matt was talking about earlier with, you know, the looking for clinical studies or the what did you call it, meta-analysis or that sort of thing. You know, it's like for me, for the engineers, if you go into an engineering database and go to the advanced search, sometimes all they want are conference proceedings because those have a shorter publishing cycle than a peer-reviewed journal does, but they're almost on the same level. They don't have the same level of scrutiny that a peer-reviewed journal article goes through. But that said, a peer-reviewed journal article, because of that, takes a long time for those to get published. And when you're talking about technological concepts, they need to get at those ideas and research out there as quickly as possible. So really, for them, their literature is the conference proceedings. And so a good way to just limit to that is go into your advanced search, and that will be one of the options under resource type, for example.
Yeah. Sorry, I think that's a really good tip to take, that you can sort of generalize across fields, that your more specialized databases also have more specialized metadata tags. For example, to pull one from Matt Young's field, the medical or the psychology databases will have filters for the gender or age of the subjects being studied that you're not going to get in a generalized or an engineering database, because those metadata are specific to the needs of that subject.
That's interesting.
I hope we've answered your question, Deborah, and didn't just, we love
yes,
these bases
thank you.
here. So yeah. Do we have any other questions?
Deborah, are there any suggestions you might have for topics we could do for future sessions that you might want to learn more about?
You know what would be helpful for me is I'm a pretty new student, and just finding my way around the library website is a little confusing to me.
That's a challenge for every library. It's just, we've got so much information to organize and all that. So yeah, it does. We hear
do a session on navigating.
Yeah, navigating like the homepage and where you know, sort of tricks to find out where you want to go. That would be helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we can plan a session for that one, but I also wanted to plug our Meet with a Librarian link, which is on our homepage. You can schedule a one-on-one appointment with one of us, and we can do that So you don't have to wait for us to schedule a coffee talk about it. We can do it for you.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll do that then. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's what we're here for.
Well, that
You
is
don't
all.
mind my asking, what are you studying, Deborah?
I'm a master's student in the history of ideas, and Christopher, you gave a thing last year in Dr. Wickberg's class that was very helpful.
Yes.
But I have to keep doing things over and over and over again to sort of get used to them. So this repetition is very helpful for me.
Yeah.
That's not just you. Everybody needs a few rounds before they get really comfortable.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I'm very impressed with the library support, so thank you all.
It's always a pleasure to be here for y'all. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to Matt Makowka and Matt Young, or the Matt and Matt Show, for hanging out with us today. I have been your very favorite Hobbit librarian, Katie Lee Robinson, and this has been McDermott Coffee Talks, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Deborah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.